This video introduces some basic thoughts and principles that we need to consider when we wish to help boost our students' performance and commitment in our courses. Students showing a high performance when studying are often considered the smart ones. So the underlying idea is that study success is primarily linked to intelligence. And without a doubt, intelligence does have an important effect on a person's performance. However, it could be shown that there is another factor that contributes almost as much as intelligence. And this other factor is motivation. But why is that the case? Motivation, together with emotional, cognitive, and social aspects, is a key factor for successful learning. Without motivation, students don't learn simply because a student's motivation to learn defines if and in how far this person engages with learning content and thus allows the brain to focus on this input, which then leads to active processing and eventually memorizing content. So in short, no motivation, no learning. By the way, motivation is just as important for other groups, such as instructors. Also, our motivation as instructors has a direct influence on our teaching success and greatly impacts our students and their learning. This is why before talking about our students and their performance, I would like to start with you, your commitment and performance as instructor. Why, you might ask? Well, because it is key. Let me explain why. Your attitude and demeanor as instructor will either motivate your students or it will do the opposite. When you think back to your days as a student, you most likely encountered both types of instructors yourself. Those who really seemed to be into the subject, who were excited to share their knowledge and skills, and who seemed interested in you. These instructors most likely inspired and motivated you and made you give your all simply because you too felt this spark and were willing to work hard. And then there were those instructors who seemed demotivated and detached from the content that they taught, not the slightest interested in you or your success. You most likely found that off-putting and demotivating. Such instructors can really spoil one's interest in a subject, and as a student, when confronted with this type of teacher, one mostly only does the bare minimum. Now, let me say this again, because it's so important. Your attitude and demeanor as instructor are key. You are key. As instructor, you have a very powerful and influential role. Motivated instructors enhance motivation and commitment in their students. It is thus essential that you teach in such a way that it is enriching for both you and your students, and that the time that you spend together is truly quality time for all of you. So basically, be the instructor that you would have wanted as a student. From research, we know that instructors are a major factor when it comes to student attitudes, motivation, performance, and commitment. Do your share to create a welcoming and supportive learning environment and actively approach your students. Now, I know that this is easier said than done, and I also know that you are very busy and that there are millions other things that need to be done and that require your full attention. Instruction, it seems, is just a lot of work without tangible yields for the instructor. It is unfortunate but true that the importance of high-quality instruction is not evident to very many out there. It might also seem that every extra thought invested into high-quality instruction is one too many, simply because it is neither appreciated, nor paid, nor taken into career-related considerations these days. That is a fact, and it is unfortunate indeed. However, this admittedly highly dissatisfying situation must not lead to a "so what, who cares" attitude. We all do not get enough appreciation and recognition for our work, especially in instruction. However, as instructors, we are always also role models for our students. Whether we like this fact or are aware of it or not, students closely watch what we do. Steve Ferrante once said, "You are an example. Whether you are a good example or not is up to you." It is on us to ensure that what our students observe promotes their motivation and pushes their learning. We thus need to set a good example for our students, show that we care, appreciate them, and recognize their efforts. Do not go by the motto, silence is praise enough, because it isn't. As you see, as instructors, we have a major responsibility for our students. Make sure you live up to your own expectations, because only then can you too have high expectations of your students and see them thrive. Let us now turn towards our students. We initially said that intelligence and motivation are both almost equally important factors for our students' willingness to work hard and feel committed. Now, we cannot change our students' IQ, but we can help boost our students' motivation and thus promote their likelihood to increased performances while they are in our course. Motivational factors are based on an interaction of personal and situational factors and lead to a behavior that promotes the interaction with new input and increased learning processes. When students believe that dedication and hard work can change their performances in a course, they grow to become more successful learners. Now, learning is not a walk in the park, and motivation can quickly deteriorate when things become difficult and no major developmental steps are visible to our students. This is where commitment comes into play. Commitment is the emotional bond that our students demonstrate towards the work. It helps build the energy and drive needed to remain focused and on track when motivation starts to crumble and when things become really hard. Well, we all know that learning is hard, and we cannot expect our students to constantly show high levels of intrinsic motivation, even if they're interested in the topic. This is why we as instructors need to step in when necessary and provide extrinsic motivation to help our students in case they run low of their own inner motivation. Our students' commitment is based on two factors: the importance of the job that needs to be done and the belief in one's own ability to do what it takes to be successful eventually. For us as instructors, this means that we need to help our students clearly understand the goals of our courses, the reasons for why they need to learn specific things, and help them believe that they can actually master the new content and learn successfully in our course. In fact, research in behavior change has identified that self-efficacy, that is the belief a person has in their ability to do what it takes to achieve a goal, is a powerful predictor of success. Now, we already said that learning is not easy. Very often it is anything but. Learning is hard work. So how can we help our students succeed? Well, science, or to be more precise, the self-determination theory, provides us with some simple tools that we can use to create a motivation-enhancing environment in our courses. Now, it is true that intrinsic motivation is the strongest stimulus for achievement, since the activity as such is experienced as satisfying and the subject is regarded as so highly interesting that students actively engage with the subject of their own accord. It is still important that we as lecturers also pay attention to outside factors that enhance motivation in students and include these in our instruction as often and as much as possible. According to the self-determination theory, there are 3 universal psychological needs that motivate self-initiated behavior. These needs are experiencing autonomy, experiencing competence, and experiencing relatedness, that is, meaningful relationships. These 3 basic psychological needs are the nutrients needed by every learner to actively and positively be involved in learning. These needs are innate, and their satisfaction is fundamental to foster intrinsic motivation and internalized forms of extrinsic motivation. For example, the process by which non-fun activities can still be valued and embraced by our students. Let's look into these 3 needs. First, autonomy. By this we mean that people have the psychological need to feel they control the course of their own life, that they are the masters of their decisions, that our students are the initiators of their own actions and learning. For us, this means that motivation needs situations in which students can experience themselves as independent in their decisions. When you provide opportunities in class that allow students to individually develop solutions or choose between different tasks or approaches of how they wish to go about a project, students can make their own decisions and learn from these and the consequences their decisions bring along. This is what we call student autonomy. Of course, there are also situations when our students cannot choose. For example, the content of our course might be very clearly defined and there is no wiggle room to allow our students to choose what they wish to work on. In such cases, clear explanations also satisfy the need for autonomy. So whenever possible, give students choice, and when this is not possible, provide good, clear explanations for why they have to do what they have to do. Second, experiencing competence is also vital for motivation and student commitment. It refers to our learners' feelings of effectiveness and to their need to experience confidence in achieving desired outcomes. For us, this means that our students need settings that provide the right mix of challenging yet manageable tasks. Students who can experience themselves as competent users show higher intrinsic motivation than those who are overstrained, not noticed, or not challenged enough. Also good, that is, productive feedback is an essential element which helps your students estimate their competence level. Only when students understand their strengths and weaknesses can they make good learning decisions and eventually take responsibility for their learning success. This then is once again experienced as autonomy, which has positive effects on a person's intrinsic motivation. Such productive feedback does not only look back, but instead is actually also a feed forward. It means that by looking at what a student has done so far, we can then derive the next steps that need to be taken by the student in order to grow and get better. This eventually means that good, high-quality feedback always includes a to-do list for our students, a handful of tasks that they need to accomplish until the next time. Third and last, experiencing relatedness. The need for relatedness refers to our students' experiences of positive and mutually satisfying relationships, characterized by a sense of closeness and trust. Our students need such relationships with their peers, but also and mainly so with you. This then means that we need to try and create good and meaningful relationships with our students. This is done by showing respect of our students and their individual personal path of life, by caring about our students, their well-being, and of course, particularly their learning growth, and also by offering security. That means by providing a learning environment in which our students can feel safe, secure, and taken care of. Many factors can contribute to the satisfaction of these three needs. But among the most important is the teacher's style of engaging with the students. Basically, the learning environment that you create as an instructor, the communication that you establish with your students, the rapport and exchange that you make possible in class strongly influences if and in how far students feel it pays off to be motivated, actively participate, and work hard. As instructors, we help create frame conditions that promote motivation and commitment. Having said that, it must be pointed out that we can only partially influence our students' motivation, as there are many other factors that also come into play here that are way beyond our control. But, and this is highly important, we can create conditions that enable our students to motivate themselves. As high-quality instructors, we provide these needed motivational factors and allow them to work on our students. And this means that at the end of this video, we have come full circle and highlight you and your crucial role as instructor.